called in so we can call her, because I would like to have her be a part of the meeting to talk about what she's doing. So I'm going to call her. But I had to wait till the interpreter was done before.
This is not fair. They're over there having a conversation right now without anybody else being able to hear what's going on.
She didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything. It's IQ 52. This is supposed to be open conversation around the table. What did she just say?
I said they wrote that his IQ was 52. His IQ is not 52.
Okay. I just don't care for the whispering going on. That's not fair. So this is supposed to be an open conversation here.
Hello, may I speak to Charlotte Edgar?
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, simply say or press pound for further options.
4131. If she calls
966-4131. Charlotte can give us a call. This is Dan Conhitty from the Greece Central School District. Thank you.
Charlotte, one more time, 966-4131. Please call the school when you can. Thank you.
Sorry.
Can I say something?
Yes.
On his IEP, it is written that his IQ is 52. On his speech goal, it says he will follow a 5-step process where he will point to the big car and then the red bicycle. They removed his OT goal for typing and tying his shoes. They took all of the assistive technology off the IEP. They made his IEP look like if anybody saw him that he was a dribbling idiot. They had massive behaviors that need to be tied down to the ground, which Kessler did for 18 minutes because he wouldn't walk like an animal. We have talked about this numerous times. How he was treated was unfair. So they took out his sensory needs. They took out anything that would, anybody that reads this IEP would say, this is a kid who is smart, presuming intelligence, because we know that a difference between that chemicals are released when the kid needs proprioceptive movement. I said to them, he needs heavy lifting. He needs a job with the janitor. I have said this for years, taking out the garbage so he's regulated. And Kessler said to me, well, we offered him to lift something heavy that is not functional brakes. Having to sit and listen to Wheels on the Bus, I told them that if they had infantile behavior or infantile material, they would have grand behaviors. So that placement, they made him as little, it was unfair. So I tried to say that I was in disagreement with the IEP numerous times, and you told me that you were the executive person on this board and you made the decisions. I showed the pictures of the bruises, abrasions, deep red scratches. I walked into that school the week before. I finally got the assistive technology piece in. I finally got the age-appropriate sensory breaks, and on 9/22, they had to take something else because they said, we have to make these kids as uncomfortable as they possibly can. If not, they're going to end up in the criminal justice system. And 9/29, my son is crying, saying, I'm going to jail. I don't want to go to jail.
There's also many instances where Sam has attacked people and gone after people where they had to do physical interventions to ensure the safety of Sam.
Well, we can disagree.
We can disagree.
Well,
But they don't do physical interventions for the sake of trying to...
But they set him up. He knew. As soon as he said that Mr. E grabbed him by the shirt, lifted him off the ground, and slammed him against the wall, I watched my son come home dysregulated. every single day, more and more dysregulated, where he falls to the floor and says they twisted my arms in such a way that they were burning and felt like they were being pulled out of my arm sockets. He showed me how they restrained him. So I'm sorry, Dan. They set him up for failure.
So the conversation I'm hoping to have is what works and what everything you were saying, Vic, about this kid does well in a lot of settings. So what's the setting where he can do well? And that's where I think we're struggling. So I know Deb's very upset about the history and all this, what's gone forward. If we can focus on what would work, I think we're going to.
But they're looking at Sam as the kid that was in Kessler and moving forward with that, and you can't.
Right. And that's, frankly, from my experience, looking at places where things go well is the key to finding the right setting.
Presuming intelligence, having the deep proprioceptive movement, having the things that he needs.
Yep. Right. But, sorry.
When I look at Sam, we have conversations with him, and he does, seem to obsess about what has happened in the past, and we try to say, no, we need to think about a different school, not think about the previous school. Do you want to go to a different school? We're trying to encourage him, and we're saying that we want to help him, so not to think about the past. So he says, oh, Mom always talks about the abuse, and it's going to happen again and again, and that's not good for him. So now we're trying to get him focused on the future and not talking about the past. Just forget about the past. Think about the now. Think about the future. That's for him. He says he misses socializing with his friends. He misses, when he comes to our house, he's just fine. And, he'll say that, at home, all we do is talk about the abuse. And we say, who do you talk about that with? My mom. She keeps talking to me about the abuse. And that's not good for him. I wish that he would move in with us so that we could put him in, Churchville schools. That is a good school. They have a great special ed program, and we just keep getting shut down on that.
Okay, that's not for me to decide.
Right.
Sorry. I can't make that
Sam, his
decision.
behavior is fine with us. At our house, he's great. We talk with each other, and, we have a great relationship, no issues. We do not see any of the abuse at all. So I'm dumbfounded by this. I can't figure this out myself. So, some of these things that have been, removed as far as the shoe tying, and what was the other one? He can tie his shoes, right, and typing. He can now tie his shoes. He now understands and knows how to do that. And and his swimming shorts, he can tie, that, and he's doing well with that. And so, we're encouraging that he continues to do well. So, I am not seeing that physical violence at our home and that other people are saying that they see. I still don't understand where that is coming from in the school, at even the Kessler Center. And I don't know if maybe it's because he's overtired or what, I'm not sure. But I think if he was put in a new environment, which is what we're looking at discussing here, I think it should be positive and that he will have a positive experience. And we can, if Mom and me can work together, it can be a positive experience.
There's no physical issue with when the tutor is there. She's never had. She wasn't.
Right, that's good. Great.
Right, and when I was there with him, and so you're saying he's doing Boy Scouts and things like this. So we're not seeing it must be just certain settings that are triggering this, and I don't know if it's that more structured school setting or if it's someplace that he feels that it's going to start, so he's automatically. I'm not sure, how that is. Clearly, at the Kessler Center, there were so many. We looked at the reports, and there were just so many, like more than one a day. Where there had to be physical restraint, and so, and again, I didn't see him or what the antecedent was, either for him or for them to do that, but being that he was in the non-physical, a setting that wasn't physically giving physical interventions prior to that, stepped into a setting where there were physical interventions and it had to be constant, and stepped out of that, and now he's in a setting where there are no possibility of
previous settings. at
Yes.
Bird Morgan. He did have physical interventions.
And was that multiple or?
It may have been
Yes.
multiple, yes. There were also at BOCES 2, when he was in the 1201, they did not choose to do that, though they questioned his safety repeatedly and his ability to self-regulate. So there was at least
But they
one.
didn't, they weren't
They
hands
did not. They could do the physical intervention. They chose not to. There was at least one incident of 90 minutes where he was screaming and out of control that they reported to.
Because they made him sing songs about bus safety and watch cartoons. He didn't like it. He was tired of being treated like a baby. He's tired of it.
But it resolved without physical intervention.
Yes.
Correct.
And
But that was by choice of the adults.
That's right.
As opposed to, he wasn't going after anybody, is my
Right, right,
understanding. But there was severe statements about self-harm and inability to regulate himself. And it was a 1211 class.
Just something trigger, something in certain settings.
Right.
Really trigger.
And as Deb said, his IQ, the scores are very scattered. There are some very high scores and some extremely low.
Yeah, I see
This
this little
was
scale.
done
50s.
previously, 1 year ago, was a, excuse me, an accurate evaluation given by a Greece person who really looked at some of the various things that Sam had, was about in the psychological. And also with, the achievement, if you look at letter word, he's within the average range. But math is extremely low. If you look at, I don't know if you have that, it's on the IEP. I just have it in front of me, I apologize.
Right.
I'm wondering if, do you have mentorship programs here that might be able to help?
Mentorship?
Yeah, like,
Maybe a high school student.
like somebody to, walk around with him,
One of the issues,
regarding safety.
one of the issues is that Sam has been extremely risky in all settings. That would be very difficult to put him into a regular high school and keep himself and others safe. That is the ongoing issue. Kessler Center is the
And
most...
what about a special program that, like at the Green School, do you have special programs?
Again, he would have to
All in regular
go
school.
through, be within in the high school, in the cafeteria. They don't have the level of supports that he would need if he becomes not regulated.
Yeah, we understand it's not easy. It's difficult to get him to respect others. He's not willing to listen sometimes, and cooperation is important. So trying to instill that in him. He does listen to us and respects us, and he does respect sharing, and he does have some patience with us. It's very rare that he's out of control. And so, we try to figure out other, distractions for him, and then he seems to be out of that problem and is resolved at that time.
And the reason I put him into the BOCES 2 program was to try to give him an opportunity, because I had heard in many areas of his life he was fairly self-regulated and was not having those same issues. And that's why I tried the BOCES 2 program. That lasted approximately 6 weeks, Deb, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. He had to listen to songs about bus safety, and he had to watch cartoons.
That may be a piece of what you heard, but that is not all what they did.
Well, they assumed that he wasn't intelligent. So that is one of his major triggers.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No.
I just want to kind of put a few things on the table just because I've experience with Sam. I've known Sam since kindergarten. Worked with him at Long Ridge Elementary. And when he was receiving occupational therapy as he was very young, obviously. And I do have to say, it's historical, some of the behavioral issues. And in kindergarten, obviously, they're going to be singing those kinds of songs. But I think with Sam, you asked about triggers. He's fine with you. You're not asking him to write a story about the curriculum that is typical for his age. He wants to write about photography or something else. So, which is okay. But I think what we need to look at is, what are the triggers? He's not acting out at home because they're not asking him to type an essay or to do the math problem that's part of the rest of the group, whether it's 8 children or 24 children. A couple summers ago, we did try to have him come to summer school, and I never even saw him because I was in another student, and before he got to the door of the OTPT room, he had a meltdown, just knowing he was there. So was it the setting? I wasn't going to ask him to listen to stories, but I think he just knew that he was going to be going into somewhere where he may be asked to do something. So I'm not saying that that's, the whole problem. He can control himself for certain things, but he also has his own agenda for certain things. I was there when we assessed him 2 summers ago in August for assistive technology. Even the assessment for the assistive technology, even though he wanted to do this, was very difficult because when it didn't record his voice correctly, he would get upset. But the assistive technologist and I kind of worked with him to figure it out. But again, that's the way he's going to write. He can write his name. I have samples here. I've worked, I still have his file here. But, we're looking long term. If you look at the big picture, what is he going to do in his future? He's not going to be writing anything. He's going to be using the computer, voice to text. So if he's working in a photography studio, he's going to be taking orders and putting it voice to text in his computer. He needs that. He needs someone with technology, someone who can help him with his assignments using technology. So I do agree with that.
He may need that, but he has to somewhat regulate even to access those.
Right, and what I was going to say is I kind of agree, though. This is a regular school setting, and I would be very cautious for him to be going in our current cafeteria and having a meltdown because he's going to get decked. Not by any teachers. It'll be a kid going, boom, you can't say F you to me, So what we need to do is look at, how can let's look at small pieces, maybe, I know he's on home tutoring, can you do, we have students with partial day, could it be an hour? Not do the cafeteria, not even do the bus, he lives close. But it would have to be very, very structured, and maybe a particular, I'm just trying to come up with ideas, The laptop, I think at home, if he's going to access curriculum, I think he needs to have, if we can get funding to get a laptop, that would be the way to go, because all the students have Read and Write Gold here in the building, which is a voice to text, so if he wants to research a project, he can use the Read and Write Gold to read it to him. He can sit with earphones or not earphones and have the text written or read to him, and that's a program we have, and I can have assistive technology send it home. That's not an issue. He doesn't have that now. So, like if he were to do a project like you're talking about, and he wants to...
But he has to have a tutor to work with him that has knowledge of autism to get him comfortable enough to do it, because he is presuming that he can't, because that is the message he has heard from all the classes that he has been in. And what I hear Dan saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that he has to prove himself before he gets access to technology, because it has always been, when I recovered from cancer and I walked in there January of 10, they said, why is my son reading at a kindergarten level? No, we're not going to teach him. He has to behave first. And it has always been my sincere knowledge of Sam is that if you give him the tools to succeed, you will see won't see the behaviors. You have it backwards.
It's not always consistent, though, Deb.
No, it isn't. But he didn't have access to anything. They took assistive technology completely off his IEP. In the letter from the lawyer, it says he can't have assistive technology because program.
Currently.
And that does not mean that he should not have access to what works.
The other piece, when you talk about that, and is that there's a mental health piece that really seems to be overwhelming a lot of the school piece. When we try to build in certain things, that's the reason I looked at the BOCES 2 program. It was not a mental health piece. It was a classroom for students who are not necessarily achieving at grade level. That was the idea.